I was inspired by Max Strootman. I thought that his moderating was, it's a model for us to follow, and so that's why I'm going to stand up for the beginning of this session, and also taking this sort of better vantage point of the finalists. So before I kick off the session, I just want to say that I have stepped in as a last-minute replacement. I was also told not to use the word replacement because nobody is replaceable. But I'm stepping in for Paula Grigorevska, my colleague, who has been instrumental, I know, in putting together the conference and organizing the awards. Paula has been ill, but has, I'm happy to say, recovered enough to be here today. But, just want to make sure she got the shout out. All right, so is everybody sitting down, ladies and gentlemen? We're about to get to the heart of this event. And it's going to, things are going to heat up for our finalists, who have been all sort of invited on stage to give a pitch in front of this audience. And it was already alluded to by the MC, but also by Victoria Gaffey at the start of this conference, that it's been a pretty difficult job getting a very strong field narrowed down to these finalists that you see here on the stage. You're all worthy of recognition, so take this moment to enjoy being of the final, part of the final projects. As was also mentioned, I had the honor of being part of the jury, and I think, I speak for everybody that's been involved in this process, that we were overwhelmed by the turnout, the number of submissions for this award. We were also impressed with the strength and maybe the diversity of the projects that we saw. Natalia is nodding, so that's good. I'm saying the right things. And really also the diversity made it harder for the jury, I think, to rank the projects. And it's not really about a ranking. Of the sort of 22 pre-selected projects that were put to the jury to consider, there were many worthy projects, and but the projects that are represented here on stage, they all managed to somehow stand out in some way, and I think it's been repeated at this conference several times, and then usually at these events, that open source is never only about a technology. It's about solving a shared problem. It's about developing a culture of collaboration, building a community, and also having a governance structure that allows for sustainability of the project. So all the finalists that you see here today, we were impressed with how they have sort of approached those challenges that are inherent in all open source projects. You're all worthy, as I already said. So, but I think in the end, we had a long meeting that only went slightly over time, and only, occasionally got a bit heated, because I think in the end, the jury was able to reach consensus that these were our finalists. And I think there's even a photo to prove that we were all friends at the end. They were smiling. Monica took a risk taking the photo, leaving the photo up until the end. But no, we're all in agreement. So with that sort of introduction, I think we want to jump in and hear from the finalists. And each of you will be invited to the lectern and give a short 2 to 3 minute pitch, focusing on the unique aspects of your project, and try to convince everybody that you are deserving of the award. So I will start with you, Neil. Neil Homedes Busquets, I'm taking my notes just to make sure I don't make a mistake, is the president of the Free Software Association, of the Decidim Free Software Association, and will present the Decidim platform, which we have already had presented, but Neil, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much for having us. For those who you don't know yet about the CDIM from the Catalan Let's Decide or We Decide is a digital platform for participatory democracy that can be used by any kind of private or public organizations. And what makes the CDIM unique? We want to highlight today three main elements: the participation model, the fact that it is a public common code, and their democratic governance. And we will take a closer look to each of them right now. First of all, participation model. The CDIM is open, flexible, and replicable. It's a model to maximize citizen participation and taking participation to the next level, allowing thousands of people to interact at the same time. The CDIM is a standard for citizen participation, easily adaptable to local realities. And the most clear proof of that is that nowadays, more than 450 organizations are using the CDIM worldwide. We can highlight, for example, Barcelona City Council, the City of New York, the European Commission, the City of Helsinki, or many, many more. The second element that we want to highlight today is public common code. And by this, we mean that the CDIM is an example of how a FLOSS project can be created from the public sector, but with the will to build a community that participates in the development of the code. And for that reason, we have been open to contributions from the first day. Building alliances with local partners around the world has been key also to expand the CDIM worldwide. And I like this quote from a colleague of our community who says that what makes the CDIM special is the community. Here you can see three pictures from our last three editions of our annual conference, the CDIM Fest, that takes place in Barcelona every year. And you can notice how our community is growing year after year, bringing new people in each edition. And finally, the democratic governance of the project. The CDIM is an example of how to design the a democratic governance of a digital common. The Barcelona City Council has set to the CDIM Association the responsibility to manage and maintain the source code. Also, everybody in the community can propose new features and participate in the roadmap definition. And for all these reasons, the CDIM is a unique example in the world of how to implement free open source software as a public policy with a community governance. So thank you very much for having us, and we wish the best of the luck to the rest of the projects.
Thank you, Neil. So along with, of course, fully supporting the purpose of the CDIM, the jury was also impressed with just really the global spread of it and how it has been used all over the world. Also, something you didn't highlight, but the building up of a sort of a business model around it, which was pretty unique. This is a sort of a common challenge for open source projects, so we were impressed with that. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Philippe Vrignot, who is chef de pôle at the Direction interministérielle de numérique. He will present Démarche simplifiée.
Yes, thank you. Excuse for my English, very, very bad English. What's the origin of, yes, that's good. What's the origin of Démarche simplifiée? Démarche simplifiée was created in 2018 to facilitate the dematerialization of large and medium volume administrative procedures and to democratize the possibility for every agent to digitize administrative processes. The aim was also to reduce the cost of dematerialization and avoid overly complex systems based on workflow engines, taking inspiration from dispositifs like Google Form, Typeform to be sovereign IT. Finally, it was also a question of genericity of processing. based on the principle that 80% of administrative processes are the same. What's the product? It's all-in-one web apps for administration to manage their procedure and their relationships with user around one object, the user request. People first and agents so. So our platform makes it easy to government enterprises to create online forms for citizens without needing technical skills. How it works? It be able to use Démarche Simplifiée on authorized to be able to use Démarche Simplifiée, an authorized agent must first have an administrator account, which can create a new form, often by cloning an existing form. 20,000 forms existing on the platform now. Appointing instructor, and finally publish this form with a web link, enabling citizens or companies to complete and submit their request. The platform integrates communication with ID France Connect identification system and other API, interoperability, enabling company, for example, to remove administrative information or supporting documents from demand. The deployment, you can see up, là. You can see the number here. This platform is used by 1,000 government organizations and 90,000 employees, agents, with 10 million citizen submission in 5 years. 6 million user accounts were created. Model, open source model, everyone can contribute and improve the product. More than 70 developers have worked on the product since beginning. The application is deployed on other administration in France, Army, Ministry of Health, local authority, but also with government French Polynesia. Our roadmap is free, open. And our vision, the end. So now we want to expand the collaborative and open culture to government organizations beyond our borders to make administrative procedure as higher quality. This product is not only made for France, it's also made for all countries. Local authority, so we want to strengthen the ability of user and citizen to be in direct contact with a public official who deal with their request. And for this request to be relieved of all the information that can be collected in public information system. And in 50 years, I want to celebrate with you the end of administrative procedure.
Yeah.
If you want, welcome to Démarche Simplifiée now.
Thank you. And free beer, right? So Philippe going for the popular vote there. Again, the jury, I think, taking this sort of realization that 80% or so of the needs of public administration bodies can be sort of met by generic solutions. I think it's something that a lot of people can nod and agree with, but I think what we were impressed with was sort of the implementation at scale of this, and really we were impressed with the numbers also. So thank you. Next up, Camille Monchicourt from Écrin National Park, Information Systems Officer there, will present GeoTrek. Take it away.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everyone. So, yes, I'm working in a French national park in South Alps, the one in purple, the same color as on my shirt. This is a protected area, and there are 11 national parks in France. So in 2010, we had used a lot of open source software to modernize our information system, and we wanted to contribute to the open source community to give back to them. And we were also disappointed by the fact that most of local and small public organizations like us were doing small but similar tools each on their side. And we thought that open source could be a way to build tools specific for our organization, but that could be useful for others. So we started with this project 10 years ago, which we called GeoTrek, which is for managing and promoting hiking and trekking in the national park. And we did it generic and open source from the start. In 1 or 2 years, we published the first version on BSD license. And then, after just 3 years, the community of other organizations using it have been growing very, very fast. And we started building a real community with annual meetings, workshops. There you can see the meetings that we have every year or 2 years and the map of some of the organizations using the software. So 10 years later, GeoTrek is used by more than 150 public organizations, mainly in France, but a few in other countries. These are national and regional parks, regions, municipalities, tourism committees, associations, and also private companies. They all have benefited from the solution and investment that we made without having to pay it again, and they could concentrate all their efforts and financial resources to deploy it or improve it. And during all these years, more than just sharing a software, we have also shared a vision and building from nothing a community and a software together. And what is interesting is that at the start, most of them, they were not used nor confident with open source. And now they say, oh, it's very interesting, change nothing, and we go further with this governance. So another point is that with building a common and stronger tools together, we have been able to work on national standards, which we couldn't have done alone in each on our structure, and to build partnership with big platform, national platform, public and private ones. And it allows us to share and spread data on other platforms. And the good point is that we keep the control of this data and the tools because we are managing how it goes and all the roadmap and everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Camille. I think everybody on the jury was a sort of fan of the outdoors and sitting in a meeting room on Rue de la Loi. I think we were dreaming about discovering sort of the national parks of France. And I think we found it inspiring that open source can be used to encourage EU citizens to go out there and discover our natural treasures, if I can say. So thank you. Next up, Francisco Peñarrubia. He's a senior software engineer and innovation agent at the GV-SIG Association. We agreed yesterday over dinner that we would call it the GV-SIG, not the GV-SIG, and you agreed that that was okay. Here to present the GV-SIG suite.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. This is the GV-SIG suite. I will talk with a brief presentation of the project. We manage the geographic dimension of the data. If you think about the data, normally you will have around 80% of the data that you manage can be related to a position. So we manage this dimension. The GV-SIG project was born in 2002 and driven by the Generalitat Valenciana, which is the regional government of Comunidad Valenciana, where we come from. And in 2009, the GV-SIG Association was established, a non-profit association composed of small and medium enterprises and non-business organizations. And the benefits of its activity reverts to the sustainability of the project. The Generalitat Valenciana is its first and main owner, member, and continues making improvements in GV-SIG related to the needs of its own users. And now its net is self-sustaining, the association. The tech evolution that we have had is we started with the desktop, a geographic information system that runs in Linux, in Mac, and in Windows. Now we have the GVSig Online, an integral platform for the spatial data infrastructure implementation and following Inspire directives. And Maps is a framework for the development of mobile apps with the geographical component. And we have also many vertical solutions related to road management, multimodal trip planner, tourism, agriculture, and so on. And we participate in main forums and organizations like GeoLibero, many more. About the impact, there is a broad use in Generalitat Valenciana. There are hundreds of users and customizations for specific needs. At the international level, we have hundreds of thousands of downloads. It's used worldwide in more than 160 countries. There are thousands of followers on social media, organized communities in numerous countries, more than 100 conferences held. And this year will be the 19th conference in Valencia, international conference. We have many uses around the world in several levels. For example, a supranational level in several agencies of United Nations. A national level in Spain, of course, in government of Uruguay, and right now we are implementing the national cadastre of Dominican Republic. A regional level, municipalities, local level, and also in private companies like Repsol, Itaipu Binacional, Iberdrola, and also in NGOs. In academy, we have thousands of scientific papers conducted with GVSig, and it's used by universities around the world to educate their students in geographical information systems. The GVSig suite has helped popularize the use of open source software and standards in the geomatics sector. And to conclude, it's a comprehensive technological suite that manages very well all related information with geographical component. It promotes the benefits of embracing open source software and standards, very important. And it has also helped boost the use of geographical information systems in all kinds of organizations and sectors. We have already a business model around it, and there are European companies undertake projects around the world. And it has positioned Europe as a reference center in the geomatics sector. GVSig is now a globally recognized brand. And perhaps most importantly, we have the feeling that we only cover a small part of the journey. So thank you.
Thank you, Francisco. Yes, we were impressed with the global impact and also inspired by sort of seeing a European open source collaboration resulting in sort of world-leading technology. So thank you. Next up, Rasmus Frey, the Chief Executive and Secretary of OS2, Public Collaboration Open Source in Denmark.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Rasmus, and I'm, as just mentioned, responsible for the day-to-day operations of the association OS2. I'm going to tell you that it is possible to create a solid and innovative community around open source in the public sector. And I'm going to tell you that a key component is to secure funding, not at least to pay your enthusiasts and your champions, because they need to get paid. Also, we need to speak about other things than open source. We need to focus on the goals. And then we have to have a little patience with everyone else. OS2 was founded in 2012 by a group of technology people from 5 different municipalities. And I need to be close to the mic here. And from day one, the purpose has been to share solutions, share development costs, and maintain ownership of the results produced in the collaboration. Open source was, and it still is, the core component that makes this possible. It's a collaboration that has grown from 5 municipalities into 82, which is 84% of the 98 Danish municipalities, So that's quite huge in a Danish context, not least. Currently, we have 25 open source products that are governed in OS2. And across the 98 municipalities, approximately 400 implementations of these. We have a central staff of 4 people serving the core as the core secretariat, and then there's 9 additional people with the role of entrepreneurs or product owners, you could call them. It's a community of communities because each of these 25 products, they have their own organization and their own financing and own structure. Our primary responsibility is to create and maintain the toolbox and the governance model, making the collaboration possible. We need to share technical solutions, we need to share knowledge, experiences, and resources. Right on time, I will conclude. This is probably OS2 in a nutshell. It's a bottom-up organization, and we are more than ready to scale. Thank you.
I see enthusiastic applause from your Dutch Dutch colleague, yes. And the jury was also impressed with your ability to get the buy-in from a big majority of the Danish municipalities. And we also heard earlier today there was a question from the audience about sort of how do we get cities to collaborate. So that's important. They are close to citizens and they share many concerns. So congratulations for making it to the final. So rounding up the finalists, because last we will hear from the winner of the Community Award or the popular vote. We have Fabio Bonelli, who is a software engineer at the Department for Digital Transformation and the Italian government presidency of the Council of Ministers. Sorry, I don't know if I got that affiliation correct, but yes.
Yeah, that's right. It's good enough.
Yes, and you will present the public code .yml.
.yaml, yeah.
.yaml.
Yeah,
okay.
.yaml, that's
right.
the right pronunciation.
Need to know how to pronounce those acronyms.
Yeah.
You didn't come to the dinner last night, so.
That's my fault, I'm
There
sorry.
you
Yeah. That's on me.
Yeah.
So public.yaml, what is it? We talk about open source, of course, which is good, which is great. But we also need open data, but also open formats. So public.yaml is basically an open format. The governance of the project is open source. So with all those characteristics of an open source project. And we also have like a participatory way of developing the standard. But a little bit of history before. It was a project started back in 2018 by the former digital team, Italian digital team, Team Digitale, and the Foundation for Public Code, which Boris, I see Boris right now, so, and yeah, former representative there. So it was like an international project from the get-go. So keep this in mind, because I think this is important. But what is it actually, and what is the use case, and at the end of the day, what it is useful for? We had this need, and I think all of us have the need of categorizing and like putting order in repositories that get published by the public sector and the public administration. So the bureaucratic thing to do would be to like send a paper form into some sort of central entity, but it doesn't really make any sense in a digital world. So the logical thing to do, we thought, was to put this file into the repo. So the file describing the repo, describing the characteristic of a certain software solution, and being together with the code so it can be maintained, it can be updated together with the code. So this is actually a public code YAML file. It's in its entirety. I promise it's the only slide I have with a terminal in it. So I'm sorry about that. So it's a really simple file format, and you can say, but Fabio, it's simple. We need simple. We do need simple. We should strive for simplicity, and we need to simplify reality, which is a complex thing. And if we translate complexity into other complexity, that's not good enough. That's not something of value, I think. So I'll zoom in, which is still pretty understandable. And I think, I mean, you see here what we have. We have a license. It's like human readable. You can edit it with your favorite text editor. We have also tooling behind this, but you can basically edit it with a text editor, which should be VI, I think. But yeah, pretty simple. We need simple. We do need simple. That's my closing statement. So, thank you.
I think it has been mentioned several times. I think the challenge of discoverability of solutions, and I think anything that sort of helps bring, not lead this need for discoverability leading to a sort of proliferation of different catalogs, but a way to make sure that there's a way to sort of to discover solutions. I think that is a value. So simple, but I think very important. So thank you. Now, Bastien, you're wearing a blue baseball cap. Okay. We have the winner of the popular vote, and congratulations to you for that community endorsement. I'm sure you cherish it. Bastien is, let's see, I lost my thing. I know where you are. You are the head of the free software unit at Dinum, and you are here to present Blue Hats. Thank you, Bastien.
Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Odo, and thank you and congrats for a wonderful event. We're here to celebrate the love story between free software and public sector organization. But if we step back, it's really two different worlds, and the love story was not written. I mean, it was not rainbows and sunshines. On the one hand, you have the free software world with meritocracy, freedom, green lights, and the administrations is all about rules, bureaucracy, and red tape sometimes. So it was not really written that both worlds would meet, and they meet because they share common values like public interest, collaboration, mutualization. And Blue Hats is really the symbol for this common value. Shall I click on this? Yeah. So this is the articulation, Blue Hats. This is the community side of all the institutions that we have here in this room. So it's really about articulating the culture that we've been also mentioning a lot today, and the structure. So we believe in this community empowerment. So on the one side, you have the community and the institution. On the other side, so you also have the present of interactions, code that we develop, and the future of institutional engagement. So the fun and hopefully the funding, right? So we need to have both at the same time. So why the hats? It's because we are doers, we are makers. We collaborate on some free software that we share in the administrations. Why the blue? Because this is the color of the administration of Europe and beyond. Also the blue helmet was mentioned by United Nations. And also because we are blue colors. we like to hack stuff and to do real things. So we want to promote that at a larger level. What do we do? Ugly slides, but also we have online workshops, online discussions, meetings, newsletter, all the community stuff that you would expect usually. And we also have kind of outreach, and you are free and welcome to join this movement of represent the public sector interest as a hacker by joining the mailing list and get in touch with us in case we can help with buying hats or just organize events. And I would like to finish with a few thanks to Laurent Joubert, my former colleague who started this with me. I was not alone. To my colleague, Joseph and Helen, who's here, because this is a teamwork. And to DNUM, to be a place where you can wear hats without being pointed at. And to the OSPO, the EU OSPO network, because it always welcomed this idea very warmly, and without Europe, we wouldn't be here. So thank you very much, and long life to Blue Hats. Thank you.
Thank you, Bastien. I think Director General Gaffey also mentioned this morning that open source is sometimes invisible. And of course, the Blue Hats is a very tangible way of making it visible. And hopefully at a future OSOR conference, we'll see more Blue Hats in the room. I think a round of applause for all the presenters. Yes. And we're behind at this point. You're standing there. No, we have to have a few questions because we started very late. And
okay.
Yeah, yes, we have been told we can go until 5:20.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
So
well.
bye. So you can take it easy for now. Yeah. Oh. All right. Sorry. No, but we need to. This was supposed to be my moment where I could say, and the winner is, but sadly I don't have that. That's at the next, we'll have to keep the suspense for a little bit longer and get to know you a little bit more. And I'm going to start in the order, and that was the idea of having you all sit, in the order of appearance, but now I'll have to keep that in my head. I start with you, Neil. I think, before we also heard, we saw all the different places where Decidim has been used all over the world. Maybe you can just share one of your favorite sort of use cases where it has really helped to sort of support local democracy. Take it from there, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe, an awesome project to highlight is the Brazilian federal government is now using Decidim at a national level for a participatory process called the Programa Plurianual Participativo, the strategic planification for the national government. And in that platform, they reach out to almost 2 million of participants, and it has been awesome see how they adapted the Decidim to their reality, to their needs, and how they achieved to have all of these participants engage in the platform. And I think that this is one of the most recent examples, more awesome, that we have in our community.
Yeah, we heard from the UN also about the need to make sure that we, leverage open source for also not just in Europe, but to address sort of disparities and also so bring along everybody. So that's great. Philippe, I will ask you about another grand challenge. You didn't mention in your presentation, but I know that it was part of the nomination. You managed through the Marche Simplifiée to really have a rapid deployment of the COVID-19 pass in 2020. and it was hailed, I think, as a big achievement. And so, what were some of the key factors that enabled you to do this in such a short time frame? Could you expand on that a bit?
Yes, it's for. La question, c'est sur le Covid. Yes, to see.
Yes. Have you forgotten?
It was a challenge for the COVID for house. In first, we can respond at the demand of administration, because the team it's two members of my team here will be able to work very quickly with the administration and the Ministry of Networks and Foreign Affairs and Health Ministry. It's two ministries. Namely through the translation of the platform in 2 weeks, because it's only in French. In 2 weeks, it's English and French. It's a very exciting challenge for the team. The second reason is the infrastructure scalability. We have been able to triple the website use within 2 weeks. The cloud technology wasn't really successful for us at this moment. The third reason is the organization work. We have been able to work closely with the ministry and our teams. More than 2,000 trained agents ensure efficient and rapid treatment of demand in 2 weeks. It's very good for us and for the project.
Thank you. I know OSOR has put out a very interesting report also about sort of the use of open source for during the COVID pandemic, and how it helped really rapid deployment of various trackers and for the COVID pass. So I think sometimes I wonder why we, it's good to have these crises, and it shows what we really can do. But it's good. It would be good to see some of those collaborations also continuing when things go back to normal. But it's good to see that we are able to pull together when it really matters. So, Francisco, you presented GV-SIG as a sort of really I'm guessing that the flexibility of the platform is key to its success, and really being able to have it implemented all over the world. A question is sort of similar to what I asked Neil here. Is there a particular example of an implementation which really sort of showcases how this flexibility and how it can be sort of used for different purposes or by different organizations? Is that a difficult one?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It's certainly it is very flexible, and it can be developed from 0 to 100, but also with plugins and so on. It's been translated to more than 30 languages, so there are no barriers to start with this. We are old enough. More than 20 years ago, we started, and then there was nothing in as an alternative in open source. And I like particularly there are many uses in Generalitat Valenciana that I like very much, but in the one that comes to my mind right now, it's Uruguay, because he said about the COVID, and we were also helping with this localization of the cases in Uruguay while the COVID was spreading and so on. So yeah, they have a complete infrastructure there, and it can be extended very easy because it's following standards.
Great. Okay. I think we need to be better at sort of making sure that we tell those stories about how open source technologies really make a difference like that in a way that speaks to ordinary citizens. That's something that Fiona also mentioned in the previous panel.
Also very important for flexibility is the community that we have behind, because we have companies, but also people people inside the academia and the university. So this is a very resourceful thing to have a good community to be able to move forward.
Great, thank you. Camille, I skipped the order, so just to keep you guys awake a little bit. So I mentioned that the jury members were hoping to see the use of GeoTrack in other in other member states, maybe in our home countries. Do you see, do you have any planned collaborations outside of France? What possibilities do you see for this to be used beyond your current sort of collaborations?
Yes, as we have seen in France, we started with just a national park, and even if we didn't thought that it would be used in other organizations, not just national park, we all have the same needs, which are municipalities or regions or anything. So yes, it worked well to be used in very different contexts in France. And we started working with other parks in Europe. And yes, when we show them the software that we built for our national parks, yes, this is exactly what we need. So we have some plans to work with some other national parks in European Alps, and maybe it can work in other parts of Europe. And yes.
Right, if you need some champions, maybe come to to commission officials who are dreaming, for the outdoors while sitting in their offices in Brussels. Thank you. Rasmus, coming to you.
Ready?
Yes. I guess just sort of, how did you manage to get everybody on board? The majority of municipalities in Denmark. Can you share, again, some of the ways that you managed to create a sort of a sustainable, separate association and sort of the funding aspect as well, which I think has come up several times today?
Yeah, definitely. So we spend a lot of time on trying to lower the barriers to actually start using the solutions. And we also focused on not necessarily having everyone on board right away, because someone is more ready than others. And then we put a lot of effort into the private companies, the vendors that we see as an important part of the ecosystem, because they are the ones to actually sell the services to the municipalities. They don't implement themselves, and they don't host themselves, and they don't develop themselves. They buy this from private vendors. So that's a huge part of the OS2 ecosystem. The companies actually providing these services. And we just focus on maintaining the ownership of the source code, so we can always break free of the vendor and choose another one. And another thing is also trying not to speak, I said it in my presentation in a way, also trying not to speak too much about open source, because most people out there don't understand it, and it's not the motivator. The open source is not the goal. It's different things. So we choose to speak about open source when our audience is ready to hear about it, and to take part in an open source project. So that's probably the primary things.
Thank you. Fabio, publiccode.yaml, it's a standard, right? It's a specification, but it's really, I think, been presented as a tool to actually foster collaboration. Can you explain to us a little bit how that actually happens?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief, because
Yes,
there's a huge clock in front of me.
5 minutes, and we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being a data format is basically the laying ground for interoperability, because we need interoperability. So with that in mind, that can enable like collaboration and also comparability between software solutions between member states, because we are talking the same language, right? In terms of a file format, because interoperability is not only about APIs. It's about, of course, seeing the code, being able to share the code, being able to reuse the code, but also having, of course, shared standards, shared models, and shared data formats, which public code.yaml is. So.
Great, thank you. Finally, Bastien, I know you have plans to grow Blue Hats globally. Can you tell us a bit more about sort of what you see as your dream collaborations and sort of what are your next steps in terms of that?
Yeah, so thanks to a few friends in these OSPO networks, we started bluehats.global website. And the very simple purpose is to have a blog and a calendar advertising Blue Hats event everywhere. So the last one was the Blue Hats event in the city of Paris, but we welcome new events. And how do you scale this kind of community initiative? It's not, you need to rebrand existing communities and events as Blue Hats events. If you have, you know, the higher research and education field, people deploying and developing free software for the on public fund through the research community, they can organize Blue Hats events. So you have to find these people already working for the public interest and explain them the thing about recognition that you mentioned. It's really about recognition, getting together, and avoiding duplicates, mutualizing efforts when it's needed, and be recognized as a community of public interest hackers. And so start small. There is no predefined formats. Don't run big hackathons. Just what we call a garage-thon is a small event with 12 people hacking on some JavaScript library is enough. So start small, but dare to advertise this on social media. Dare to speak about your hierarchy, about what you're doing, your needs, and the funding opportunities that you want to solicitate.
Thank you. Start small, simplicity, recognition. Heard a few mentions of that. We were going to turn up the controversy by asking all of you which of your competitors or co-finalists you would have voted for, but we don't have time for this. We're going to wrap up. We have, sticking to actually the new time, I'm not over, but we are wrapping up this session. We're going to clean off the stage and prepare for the awards ceremony. And just in closing, I want to sort of reiterate a bit what Natalia was saying in her session earlier. You know, we have seen really amazing projects, big diversity, and you understand now the difficulty of reaching a decision. I would agree again that I'm hoping to see Interoperable Europe Act really sort of spur new collaborations, and maybe in the future, we transition from the sort of share and reuse to sort of building together from the start with different member states, public authorities in those member states building together from scratch. So, or starting taking something existing and and building on top of that, but as a collaborative effort. So, thank you everybody for sticking to the end. We have the awards.
Thank you, Sachiko.
And we have drinks after that.
Apologies for jumping ahead of myself. I was so anxious to find the winners.
I was able to stave you off.
You're the only one who managed to push me back to my seat, so
right.
well
okay,
done.
Well, okay,
Thank
I'll
you
take
to
that.
you.
I'll
Yes,
take
a compliment, you should. And the finalists.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to all the finalists, and I also want to say thank you to all the others that submitted as well. A very strong field.
And if I understand correctly, we can still find all the entries on the website. So if you found inspiration here by what you just heard, all of them should be on the website and you can still visit them.